Thank you, Gabriel Lachlan. Farmos Brydboska, with a little extra, little bonus number beforehand. We're actually now going to move slightly further east, slightly off this wonderful map up here, which you probably know is Olaus Magnus's wonderful Carta Marina from the first third of the 16th century, which, by the way, we do have a few reproductions of in postcard form for sale, if you're interested, in the bar later. And we're going to move to the west coast of Finland, which is predominantly Swedish-speaking. It's a historical hangover. And the next piece we're going to play, which is a polska by Riddoch. He was a Finnish Swede, so a Swedish-speaking Finn. It's a particularly beautiful and reflective piece, which has been used, well, lots of people. It's a very well-loved tune, including a contemporary composer called Per Henrik Nordgren, who used it in a suite called Portraits of Country Fiddlers, which is well worth investigating. So this is a polska by Riddoch. Thank you very much. One last number. This is a Swedish tune, Polska efter Gustav Struts, but I learnt it in Finland, so I always think of it as Finnish. Maybe it's Swedish-Finnish. And then that's us. Thank you very much for having us along.
Thank you very much, Gabby, Toby and Lachlan, for such beautiful, beautiful music. It's really interesting for many of us who are more used to listening to Scottish and Irish traditional music to see the real links with the Nordic and Scandic music. It's really wonderful to hear. Well, we're coming to the part now where we're going to move to the film, but first of all I'm going to introduce to you Lesley Riddoch, who's responsible for this great film and a few others as well. Like many of you, I've been enjoying Lesley's journalism for a long time. She's been writing and working as a journalist for many, many years. And I was just reminiscing with her that back in 1995, she chaired a very pivotal debate in Scottish politics. It was called the Great Debate between Alex Salmond and George Robertson at the Old Royal High School. And somebody sent me a film of that debate recently, and I'm sitting in the audience looking incredibly young. Lesley, you look very young as well, and Alex Salmond is slim, which is quite funny to see. But I always remember that was such an important moment, and there was a lot of follow-on from it. But in addition to that, Lesley's been involved in many really original projects. Some of you will be, like me, old enough to remember when she turned the Scotsman into the Scotswoman for a day, and oh, that we could have the Scotswoman back, or even just a Scotsman of the quality it used to be when we were all a bit younger. Many people at this event today who are independent supporters, and I know we aren't all necessarily independent supporters, but those of us who are will remember Lesley's fantastic speaking tours during the independence referendum and the wonderful book Blossom, which she wrote, which I and others found very inspirational. But I think these projects, these films that she's made together with the filmmaker Al McMaster in the last year are really, really important part of our journey as a nation towards looking towards our constitutional future. And Lesley's made 3 films, one about the Faroe Islands, one about Iceland and one about Norway, and I was very privileged to introduce a screening of the Faroe Islands one just down the road last summer. So now it's really my privilege to introduce the Norway film, but first of all to introduce the wonderful Lesley Riddoch to tell you a bit about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that response. I should tell you I'm a Piscean with Pisces rising, and this level of focus is actually unnerving for me. You may not believe that. But just can I thank so many people. First of all, Joanna for coming out today, because she's been a bit busy. And see if there's any journalists, apart from myself in the room, who are thinking of asking any deep probing questions about the current constitutional setup. Dinny. And a big, big thanks, obviously, to Al McMaster from Phantom Power, without whom none of this would have happened. His brilliant filmmaking is what lifts this story. The other big thanks to the man who's in the room goes to Mike Blackshaw from the Edinburgh Yes Hub. Now, if you don't know him, this is the guy so cussed that when we started off thinking about where we'd show this, we started off with kind of maybe a wee hall that 50 people could get in. No. Then a bigger hall, maybe we could get 100. No. Then the film house kind of fell through, but nothing daunted. He thought, oh, why not the Queen's Hall? You know, which has a capacity of 600, which is full. All due to that man. And to Musica Nordica, who brought you the flavour of countries that are our cousins, that have always been our cousins. I was sitting having a wee greet in the corner, because for me this brings a personal story complete. My family came from part of that map. It's gone, but they came from Stroma, which was a small island in the Pentland Firth off Caithness. So they always thought of themselves as Vikings and Norse. They put that into me, as well as many other things, including a huge intolerance of our current patterns of land ownership, and a curiosity to build the bridge, to reopen the eastern door. Our interests have followed the interests of Britain for a very long time, and yet we sit cheek by jowl with the most successful small countries, in fact, never mind that, the most successful countries in the world, on an almost tedious list of different kinds of achievements. They are right at the top of every international pecking order. I think the only thing that we can do that Norwegians couldn't is come to watch a film about another country on a Sunday afternoon in numbers like this, because we are hungry for change. So anyway, I'll do less talking because the film is here to do some of that. And I do appreciate there's people who will be here today who are not at all decided about independence, people who came here for the music, people who love Norway and want to see a bit of it. And you're all very welcome. The point about all of this is to try to say, many of us can see the huge failings, and by gum, if there was ever a week for saying it, it's now. The huge failings of an archaic, unfit for purpose Westminster system. The question for us, really is what kind of future we could imagine, because nothing in existence has ever been begun until it became an idea, until you could imagine something else. And that's why it seems so important to me that we begin to have films like this, because after all, seeing is believing. So I'll leave you, I hope, with just one press of the button to get the Nation film underway, and then afterwards we'll have a Q&A and just ask whatever you like. But meantime, the belief that's gone into today, you coming and Mike organising this huge hall, has just touched me enormously. So I hope you enjoy the film.
We'll be back in an hour after the film. You can watch on YouTube. Just search for